Hi, everyone. We hope you guys are having a phenomenal day out there. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is Mr. Tiska with you once again. And once again, I'm joined by the incredible Mrs. Kraft. Mrs. Kraft, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm fantastic. And we also have the determined Miss Hoff with us today. Miss Hoff, how are you?
I am ready for this challenge.
Yeah, I told you she was determined. Now, today we're going to be doing Chapter 7, Section 3, Challenges for the New Nation. The big idea for today, the United States faced significant foreign and domestic challenges under Washington.
And we're going to talk about the main ideas. The United States tried to remain neutral regarding events in Europe, and the United States and the Native Americans came into conflict in the Northwest Territory. The Whiskey Rebellion tested Washington's administration, and in his farewell address, Washington advised the nation. You might have to tune back in for those, but we don't know. Maybe you'll get lucky. Main idea 1. The United States tried to remain neutral regarding events in Europe.
So our good friends, the French, had a revolution of their own. Just to give you a little bit of a backstory here, France was going through a very troubled time, and the people in France were starving. They went to the queen and they said to her, they can't even have bread. And the queen, one of the most famous quotes by Marie Antoinette was, let them eat cake. And I remember this from being little, that let them eat cake. So they don't have the stuff to make bread. How do you think they're making cake, lady? So anyway, that's how out of touch she was. So France was ruled by King Louis, and he was having these beautiful parties at the Palace of Versailles. And the people were seeing all of this, and the people were like, we're starving to death, and this dude's having big parties. Marie Antoinette's got her big hair on, like her hair could touch the ceiling. She had these fancy dresses that were so wide she had to turn sideways to walk through a door. And the whole country is in trouble, and they're still living the life like who they were. So long and short of the story, this French Revolution breaks out, and it starts with the storming of the Bastille.
Yeah, revolution, yeah!
So excited. Everybody's thrilled that they're going to have their little revolution, especially Mr. Jefferson there in the background.
Woo, revolution!
So initially in America, people were super psyched because they shouldn't be ruled by a king who is mean and oblivious to their needs, just like our king was mean. And we had a revolution and everything worked out really nice. So they storm the Bastille, which is really a prison, and they break everybody out. And that's the start. So you know how in America we have 4th of July? They celebrate Bastille Day, which is the beginning of the French Revolution.
Yeah, revolution, woo!
Now, initially, all of America is like, booyah, France is going to be free like we're free.
Booyah!
But then things take a very dark turn. Cue the killing machine. Bum, bum, bum. That, my friends, is a guillotine. Now, the way this works is they would have someone's head underneath that major blade. And yeah, the big blade would come down and chop somebody's head off. Now, if you've ever heard the expression, heads are gonna roll, it came from this machine because after they chopped a person's head off, it literally rolled down the street until somebody said, hey, let's put a basket on the other side so the basket would catch the head. So initially the revolution started just like ours. It was about freedom, but then it became something totally different. It is known as the Reign of Terror. And if you disagreed with the people that were revolting and had taken over power, then they would chop your head off. And in a period of time, over 10,000 people were killed during the Reign of Terror. And that included the king, his wife, and all of their children. because they could not have an heir to the throne. So they killed everybody. And it was at that point that most Americans were like, ooh, this is like a lot different than ours. We fought a little war. We became independent. Life is good. We didn't just try to kill people. But the French Revolution got so bloody that most Americans were like, ooh, we all need to back up from this. Unless, of course, you were Mr. Jefferson.
Well, as I'm sure you know, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants.
So here you can see Mr. Jefferson thinks that any price is okay to pay in the name of freedom and liberty. Not everybody agreed with him. Not everybody agreed on France and Britain either, because if you remember my good friend, Mr. Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, he said, we should side with Great Britain. After all, it's our mother country. Even if we're not living with our mother country, we should still be true to them. But Thomas Jefferson felt,
we should support France. France supported us during our revolution. It's only fair that we support them in their time of need.
Now, Mr. Washington is like, ooh, we need to stay as neutral as possible because we really can't fight another war. So at that point in time, Mr. Jefferson feels he can't play in the sandbox anymore. And
you know what? I feel like I can't play in this sandbox anymore. I quit.
And that's exactly what happens. Thomas Jefferson leaves his position as the Secretary of State because he feels that Washington and Hamilton don't support him. So President Washington issues something called a Neutrality Proclamation. And in the Neutrality Proclamation, it simply says that the United States is not going to take sides with any European nations that were at war. So we're just going to chill out over here and you be you, we'll be us. So the British tried to attack us in other ways. So tell us about those challenges, Ms. Hoff.
So, other challenges to U.S. neutrality. So you have Jay's Treaty. So the British started to seize or take ships in the French West Indies, and these were American ships. So Washington wants to prevent another war, like Mrs. Kraft said. It's expensive, he doesn't really have the men for it, and so did Britain. They didn't really want to fight this war either. So incoming Jay's Treaty. So Jay's Treaty is signed in 1794 and basically said that Britain would pay for the damages to the ships that they seized and abandon their forts in America, and Americans would have to pay for the debts it owed to Britain. So this settles a lot of disputes that had risen between the two countries, but the treaty was pretty unpopular in the United States.
And this wasn't the only problem that the United States had. The United States also had issues with Spain. If we go over to this map right here, I can show you. So here's a map. Now you see the red area. That's the United States as it currently existed back then. But then, as you guys know, Florida is controlled by Spain. And you see how Florida's territory kind of reaches up into the U.S. territory? That area right there, that was in dispute. Spain felt it was Spanish territory. The United States are like, wait a minute, that's U.S. territory. So Spain was so upset that they closed the port of New Orleans to U.S. shipping. Now, this was a big deal because the United States used that port to send goods out of the country to sell them in Europe. So it was really damaging to the U.S. economy. And that's something that President Washington couldn't have. So he's going to send Thomas Pinckney to make a treaty with Spanish Minister Godoy. Now, when Pinckney gets there, the Spanish, they're all excited because they feel as they can make the United States sign any treaty they want because the United States is a weak country. Spain has control of the port. So they're like, yes, we can make the United States sign any treaty we want and we will get whatever we want from them. But
That's so scary.
during the middle of the negotiations, word reaches Spain that the U.S. have worked out a treaty with Great Britain. That was Jay's treaty. So now Spanish officials are like, oh my God, the United States and Great Britain, they worked out a treaty. Man, what if they're together? What if we give the U.S. a bad treaty? What if Great Britain attacks us along with the U.S.? We can't stand that. We have to give the U.S. whatever treaty they want.
Ha ha
So-
ha.
So, because of Jay's treaty, Spain kind of does a little backtracking. They decide to give the United States a very favorable treaty in Pinckney's Treaty. And here's what Pinckney's Treaty did. The U.S. southern border was set at 31 degrees north latitude. So that little piece of land right there, that was firmly decided to be U.S. territory. And even more important, Spain reopened the port of New Orleans and gave the U.S. the right of deposit, which means that the U.S. could transfer goods from one ship to another without having to pay any fees or anything like that. So Pinckney's Treaty, huge success. Unlike Jay's treaty, this was very popular with the American people because it gave them everything they wanted and they didn't have to give anything up for it. Now, I believe that's it for us today. Mrs. Kraft, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, Viva America. As opposed to
second
Viva
that
la France.
I second that one. Miss Hoff, anything?
Nope. Have a wonderful day.
Have a fantastic day, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.